Welcome to Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia, round 8 of the 2019 Euroformula Open season, race 2 of the weekend here on the 4.6 kilometre Grand Prix circuit. Good afternoon, everybody. Scott Woodward and Elliot Wood here trackside to guide you through all the action. And if you're watching yesterday, it's clearly obvious that the weather conditions are 1,000 times better than they were yesterday. We had a rained-off qualifying session. We had wet conditions in race 1. Liam Lawson took the victory on his return, but today 28-degree air temperature, 42-degree track temperature, 60 degrees humidity. It's going to be quite a scorcher here this afternoon, and after an exciting qualifying session, we see Japanese talent Tepe Natori starting on pole position. One of the big headlines already from this weekend is that the title has been settled. Motor Park's Marino Sato, the Japanese sensation, has already wrapped it up yesterday with 10th place yesterday, because Lucas Dunham needed to win the race, score fastest lap, and hope that Sato didn't score points. That didn't happen. And so Sato is the champion with 3 races still to go, including this afternoon here at Barcelona. There is Jack Doohan making his way around to the grid, the Australian. As you can see, the weather conditions are beautiful here in the south of Spain, on the home of the Spanish Grand Prix. There's your pole man, Japanese sensation Tepe Natori. There's quite a few Japanese sensations. You've got 3 on the grid: Marino Sato, Tepe Natori, and Yuki Tsunoda. Natori will start on pole position. Marino Sato, the new champion, 6th. Yuki Tsunoda will start in 8th on the grid. There is Yuki Tsunoda, another one of the Honda Formula G junior drivers. And Nikolai Kiergaard will once again start on the front row of the grid after he started on the front row yesterday alongside his Carlin teammate Billy Munger. Was able to take the lead in the opening laps and actually led the race all until the final lap, when it was a move from Liam Lawson around the outside of turn 1 in wet conditions to snatch the lead away. There he was able to take the victory after missing the last 4 races, having not appeared at Red Bull Ring or the last rounds at Silverstone. But good to have Liam back, as it is for Yuki Tsunoda and everyone else. There is the grid, cars making their way to it, and actually Carlin Motorsport have got every reason to be happy about their qualifying session this morning, because out of the 5 cars they have here this weekend, 4 of them make up the first 4 places on the grid, because Tepe Natori is on pole position, Kiergaard second quickest, and the second row is made up by further Carlin teammates Christian Hahn and Billy Munger. So making his way slowly to the grid. To his 8th position grid spot comes Yuki Tsunoda from Team Motor Park. Purchase his Red Bull backed car onto the 4th row of the grid. Linus Lundqvist, who also picked up 3rd yesterday, will start in 7th place. Back in row 4. And Lucas Dunham, who can still keep himself in the fight for 2nd in the points, will start all the way back in 9th place. So he's got some work to do from towards the bottom of the top 10 to get himself a little higher up the order. Speaking of Carlin cars, here is one of them, Christian Hahn, starting 3rd on the grid, the Brazilian. We've just seen his father Marcelo, along with Alan Corder, his fellow Brazilian, pick up the Pro-Am victory in International GT Open. So hopefully Christian Hahn can get himself onto the podium as well. He starts 3rd, hopefully he can make some progress from there. And in terms of Carlin cars, of course, we've got 5 of them this weekend rather than 4, because we say a welcome to the championship for Ida Cohen, who is a regular Italian and German Formula 4 racer, who now is doing the last couple of rounds of Euroformula Open here at Barcelona and also at the season finale in Monza, and certainly making quite a bit of talent as he goes through the mix. There is Nikolai Kiergaard starting on the front row, and he'll be looking to try and pick up a race victory after he's come close to the last few races, picked up a couple of 3rd places, a 2nd yesterday. Can he finally get that first Euroformula Open victory of the season? We'll have to wait and see. A few more cars making their way to the grid, but you can see the massive contrast in the weather conditions. The sun shining down. Temperatures, of course, as we say, already into the high 20s as Christian Hahn slowly makes his way to the grid. And as we start to look at the final preparations for today's 2nd race of the weekend, it's going to be interesting how the temperature difference is going to be on the tyres, because, of course, these guys would have lapped in relatively similar conditions, if not slightly cooler conditions, if not sunny and bright, in free practice. But whether or not it's even hotter now, as we're at the middle of the afternoon, around 28 degrees here in Barcelona, in the south of Spain, it could be making a difference. And there's the man in 2nd place in the championship, Lucas Dunham, who's, I thought was looking at a bit of his engine cover missing for a moment, but I'm not quite sure. I'll have a look at that in a second. But as he comes through, yeah, he has got his engine cover part missing. That's quite unusual. So Elliot was alongside me. Is that normal for cars to go to the grid like that, or is he simply just going out there for some reason?
Definitely not normal, and I imagine he'll be called back to the pits to have that reattached, if it was attached in the first place, which we have not seen.
Unless that's a really interesting engine cooling tactic. I'm not sure, as you said, I'm not sure that's quite allowed. So I'll have to wait and see if they've even got that waiting for him on the grid. So, but we were saying in terms of the difference in conditions and temperature they've had over the last, 24, 48 hours, they've gone from bone dry running to wet running, now to dry running again, especially in qualifying this morning. The first time we've only really seen them truly at their pace in terms of their outright pace this weekend has been in qualifying this morning. So it looks like it should be maybe a slightly interesting race as we see Polman, Tepp and Notori on the front row of the grid. The pace could be a little bit different depending on the fact that some people that were strong in the wet yesterday may struggle in these hot conditions today.
Yeah, and this circuit is a very different circuit to the ones where we run in similar conditions. Nikolai Kjærgaard, who's second place on the grid, as we can see now, he set the pace in the hotter of the 2 free practice sessions on Friday. So we imagine he'd be better today, but this is even hotter than it was in free practice. Christian Hahn, who's in third, he's another of the Carlin drivers. He was also very quick in free practice and carried that form into qualifying. Listen to his engineer there. Billy Munger in fourth place. He started from pole yesterday after qualifying got rained off, and he'll be starting from fourth today. 4 Carlin drivers in the top 4. They're very quick here in pre-season testing. They're very quick here in free practice. They're actually very quick in the heat at the Hungarian as well, with Nobuharu and Matsushita taking pole. So this could be their weekend. Liam Lawson, he won race 1 in the wet. One driver commented that they thought he was on different tyre compounds, everyone, because he was that quick. In 6th place is his teammate, the newly crowned champion Marino Sato at Motorpark. He is going to take risks today, he said, because he's had a risk-averse season, as he waves to the camera. 7th place on the grid is the lead double R racing car of Linus Lundqvist in the kind of police car livery. I think a lot of the new fans to Euroformula that opened this weekend are a bit confused about that livery, associating it with old 1960s like British sitcoms. In 8th place is Yuki Tsunoda, Red Bull Junior. He's already won in Formula 3 this year. He's impressing a lot of people, and but he's obviously behind his teammates, so he'll be wanting to get past them. 9th place is Lucas Dunn, the Salto Martin car. We need to see the rear of his car. It looks like an engine cover has been attached. So that may well have been a cooling technique, because technically the circuit isn't live right now. So that may have been like a possible thing you can do, because presumably you can take wheels off on the grid as well.
You wouldn't get very far, though.
Yeah. Niklas Kruttin in 10th. This is his 2nd round of the season with Motorpark. He's another who's doing the World Motorsport Games. He's representing Team Germany, which is a privilege. And we're seeing, I think, all the engineers being summoned from the grid. So we'll go through the remaining places if our cameraman isn't.
Well, let's go through the highlights of race 1 yesterday, which was, of course, in wet conditions. A slow start from Billy Munger from pole position, a cracking start from Linus Lundqvist on the second row got him through. Early passing, we saw a little bit of a go between Yuki Tsunoda and Lucas Dunn. There was a little bit of contact, and Yuki Tsunoda just held on to the place before he squirmed his way through up the position. Then a position swap between the charge and Liam Lawson, 30 displays to Billy Munger, and a performance, like you said, that was possibly on different tyres to anyone else, but more battling going on. We saw Jack Durham running wide, allowing some of his teammates, including champion-elect Marino Sato, through, tracking his way through the gravel. And then this was the move on the last lap, around the outside of turn 1. Liam Lawson sailing past, almost quite literally, to take the lead. And from there, on the rest of the lap, he was never headed. So, on his return back to the championship after missing 2 rounds at Red Bull Ring in Silverstone, he reminded everyone why he's one of the top drivers in the championship, out of the final corner. And Liam Lawson went on to take victory on his return to the championship. It was 2nd place for Nikolai Kjærgaard, 3rd for Linus Lundqvist, and 10th place for Marino Sato, which gave him the 2019 Euroformula Open Championship. So, as you said earlier, expect Sato now to see some possible moves here in the lead. The grid is being cleared for race 2 of Euroformula Open here at Barcelona. Here's how they line up from qualifying. Tepp Notori for Carlin Motorsport on the front row of the grid alongside Nikolai Kjærgaard. Christian Hahn and Billy Munger make it a front 2 rows lockout for Carlin Motorsport, 3rd and 4th for the Brazilian and the Brit. Liam Lawson, yesterday's winner, starts 5th alongside new champion Marino Sato. Linus Lundqvist and Yuki Tsunoda make up row 4 for the Swede and the other Japanese driver in the field. Lucas Dunn starts back in 9th alongside Nicholas Kruttin, who stands in for Julian Hanses. Then Cameron Das and Jack Durham back on row 6. 2 drivers looking to make some progress up into the top 10. New boy Ida Cohen starts 13th, then Kaylin Williams in 14th place, and Rui Andrade, then Golan driver at the back of the field in 15th spot. Lots of heat haze coming off the circuit. Of course, the track temperature now is into below 40, which means that tyre management and effectively trying to keep the tyres... I can't imagine there'll be too much warming up on this tyre in terms of weaving side, so because let's face it, the track is warm enough as it is. And
it's Euroformula regulation that you shouldn't really be weaving to warm up the tyres. As you see, some of these drivers are spaced out as they come off the line, so you kind of get away with it. But as they're going around the lap, they're told not to. The Michelin tyres used in this championship are loved by the drivers because they give a lot more feedback. But obviously when they get too hot, that feedback definitely decreases. So it's more kind of on the edge for the drivers, and it's dependent on their feel with the car and the circuit to get the most out of it. And I think if you're running in the wake of another car, that's going to make that job a lot harder as well, because you're going to be getting to the end of straights at a far quicker speed. Your braking points are going to be slightly different. So it'll be very interesting to see how this road pans out, especially if the clouds stay non-existent-ish over the circuit as they are now.
Yeah, there's a few clouds around, but it's not anything that's really threatening to going to cause any rain, he says, rather hopefully. But they're all sort of light, sort of obviously white clouds sort of spaced around, but it still doesn't change the fact that it's still quite hot out there. And it's that thing about tyre temperatures where if you have them too low, you start to slide around and lose grip. If you have them too high, you start to slide around and lose grip. So it's finding that range in between that works as an optimum range to try and make them work in that, with that window.
And you can't play with the pressures to help with the temperature problem either, because tyre pressure is a huge variator in performance as well, and they have strict regulations over what PSI you can run them above and below. But this track's very smooth, so you should want to run them quite highly.
And it is one of those things usually when you're setting a car up that you tend to go to first, tweak the tyre pressures first, because that's where mainly you'll find initially the most amount of grip in terms of setup, but then you'll find more when you start to play with other parts of setup like suspension and the brakes and the aerodynamics, but usually it's tyre pressures that you kind of as a go-to first to kind of tweak things up before you start to fix anything else.
And because of the hotter air, I think the cars will have a lot less grip through the high-speed corners. As well, and it depends how much they trim the wings out. Double R Racing has been known for trimming their wings out entirely. We're going to see Linus Lundqvist through the pitch now. Doesn't look like they've taken too much off the rear wing there, but they usually go quite low on that, and that can also help with when you're in high temperatures as well, because the air is obviously of a different thickness. Not that you can see it when you wade through it.
Well, it's coming up to 4 o'clock in the afternoon local time here in Barcelona. As we say, the air temperature is around 28 degrees, the track temperature into the low 40s, which means that this is going to be quite a different race terms performance-wise compared to yesterday when it was much cooler and much wetter as well. Here's one of our onboard cameras. This is Yuki Tsunoda pulling into his 8th grid spot. Just alongside him there to the left is Linus Lundqvist. A couple of drivers have been leaving some 11s there to kind of leave some rubber on their grid spot to make sure that they get the best possible grip. So, Tepi Notori from Japan on the right-hand side in the Carlin car with the yellow accents. Alongside him, it's Kiergaard with the left accents. Then it's Hahn and Munger. But watch for Lawson and new champion Sato at the back of the grid in 5th and 6th position. Wait for the green flag at the back of the field, which waves now. And we're all set for race 2 of Euroformula Open. Watch for the lights to come on one by one. 5 red lights, and race 2 of Euroformula Open in Barcelona is go. Decent start from the front row, also from the second row. So all 4 Carlin cars at the front seem to got row pretty strongly. We're on board with Yuki Tsunoda. To his left is Lucas Dunner, who's made a good start from 9th on the grid. Down towards turn 1 for the first time. Tepi Notori leads the way. Kyogo looking to the outside line, side by side between Munger and Hahn. Into turn 1 for the first time. And look at that's combat for 3rd place. Over the curves goes Hahn, always touches the back of Billy Munger, gets sideways, but he holds on. He's now holding up both possibly Lawson and Marino Sato up the inside. Goes Yuki Tsunoda trying to get past Lucas Dunner as they come through Renault corner for the first time. And looks to, I think, all 4 of the Carlin cars got away with that, although Sato is starting to show his aggressiveness a bit more now. Into 5th position, past Liam Lawson. Lundqvist is in 7th place, Tsunoda 8th, doing up to 9th, and Lucas Dunner rounds out the top 10. But a strong start, first of all, from all 4 of the Carlin cars in the opening couple of corners. Back on board with Tsunoda. He's now behind Liam Lawson now. Looks like another place gain, possibly for man that was right behind him in 6th position. Up towards the Worth chicane. Weaving around there, looks to be, I think that's Jack Doohan behind. Nicholas Crutton actually behind Lucas Dunner, who's tailing Jack Doohan as they come up through Campsa corner for the first time. But a strong start from Carlin so far. All 4 cars at the front, remaining in the top 4 so far.
Yeah, it was actually a brilliant start by Lucas Dunner as well. He was super aggressive off dummy start, so he left a lot of rubber down, and then he was as late as possible to his grid spot. And we're seeing him move position between Linus Lundqvist and Yuki Tsunoda side by side through the hairpin and then the kink afterwards. Tsunoda has taken that place, 7th place ahead of Lundqvist. Lucas Dunner is behind. He got kind of crushed in between the 2 at turn 2, which cost him, and he'd gone up to 6th place by that point because of his exemplary start.
And Munger and Hahn were very lucky not to come together either, because they came very close through turn 2, but thankfully Hahn backed out of it and allowed Munger through. So end of the first lap here in Barcelona. Notori leads the way. Kiergaard in 2nd place. Munger's up to 3rd after starting 4th on the grid. He's trying to chase after his teammate Kiergaard in 2nd place. Bit of a gap to Christian Hahn in 4th. Behind in the background we see that is Lucas Dunner battling away with Jack Doohan, looking around the outside, and the Austrian goes for the move on. The Australian round the outside into turn 1. That's a neat pass for the man currently 2nd in the championship. He can't win the title now because Marino Sato clinched it yesterday. So that's a place gained now to 9th for the Austrian. past Jack Doohan into Repsol corner for the first time. And now that Sato's effectively been released from the shackles of that championship battle, as you say, trying to show a bit more aggressiveness, he's already on the back of Christian Hahn. Let's see what he's got.
Yeah, and you can see there he was looking left and right, trying to get as much in the mirrors as possible of Christian Hahn up in front of him. And somehow he didn't lose any time by doing that, as they run down from turn 5 to the kind of turn 6 kink and then uphill turn 7 left-hander. He's right in his wheel tracks. Turn 9 would be very difficult to make a pass through, but I imagine he couldn't make an attempt at the hairpin.
Wait and see what they've got here as they come down the back straight towards Complex. Tepin and Troy trying to escape up the road already. Kiergaard in second place. Munger's going with him in third. All stacking up for 4th, 5th and 6th. Lawson now on the back of Marino Sato. Of course, Tsunoda now trying to escape from Linus Lundqvist. Now he's taken up 7th place as they go through Bank de Sabadell. Our commentary box position this season. Just look over at the bottom end of the circuit in the last few corners. We can see them coming out of that corner into the chicane for now the second time. Christian Hahn holding station in 4th, keeping chase of his 3 Carlin Motorsport teammates.
It looked like Sato actually backed off in the middle sector, and he's gone slower than drivers ahead. He had set the fastest first sector, and I bet he's saving tyre life because of the high temperatures right now.
It's a good spot. Good spot on that way. It wasn't, as you say, the fastest first sector of anyone, 28.8 for that last time by, but he did back off to a 37.7 in the middle sector, so he's keeping on the tail of Christian Hahn. But that could be an interesting point. As you say, the warm temperatures could mean some of these guys are just playing the long game in this race in terms of time. I think it's a 17-lap race. They're on lap 3. There's Ida Cohen going past in the 5th of the Carlin cars. And right at the back there is Cameron Dass, so he's dropped a couple of spots. He's behind Caelan Williams, with Rui Andrade about 6/10 back, the Angolan driver, who's one of the 3 drivers in the field who's running actually solo this weekend. Caelan Williams was supposed to have Manuel Maldonado, who did practice, but then he didn't feel well, so he had to give up the rest of the weekend. So he's the only Fortec Motorsport car in the field. Of course, Lucas Dunn is the only Teo Martin car. We've also got the DriveX machine of Rui Andrade at the back of the field. There goes Tepin Notori then. Gap is now 1.8 seconds to Nikolai Kiergaard, forgive me, in second place. Munger's 0.8 per second back, and looking at the time so far in the sectors, it's equal first sector between Kiergaard and Munger, and actually the 2 of them were a 10th quicker than Notori on that first sector. The gap is 1.8, but looks as though at the moment all 4 of these Carlin cars are staying nicely in formation, so do their team's chances no harm whatsoever. It looks as though in their gaps they've gone up to 2 seconds. At the moment, it seems to be that Notori's doing a better job of managing the gap between himself and Kiergaard compared to Kiergaard to Munger, and the Brit seems to be just keeping him on his toes. He was about 10th slower in that last sector, actually, in sector 2, but he's keeping second place man honest at the moment, is Billy.
And if we recall yesterday's race, the Carlin drivers were very quick in the first half, but kind of as the temperatures increased and the track got drier, they got brought in by the Motorpark drivers, which ended up with Liam Lawson overtaking them for the win. And that is Jack Doohan's dad, Mick, with his AirPods in, so he's obviously listening to our commentary right now.
Quite possibly. That's, of course, multiple-time what's now known as MotoGP World Champion in the past. And, of course, his son Jack at the moment running in 10th position behind Lucas Dunner. As they come up through the first few corners for the first time. There's Linus Lundqvist in the police car livery, which I think I have to agree does look like a police car, as Elliot mentioned. Up in 8th place at the moment, just behind Yuki Tsunoda. So the gap at the moment, 2.5 seconds between Tepin Notori and Nikolai Kiergaard. Munger holding station in 3rd place, but gap's now 0.8 of a second. He was a 10th quicker in that first sector, was Billy there. There he is, 3rd position. Remember that car, he's had to control that with hand controls, but the way he drives it, you'd never think it. Great stuff from Billy so far. As he comes up towards the verse chicane, there's Christian Hahn keeping his teammates in touch in front of him in 2nd and 3rd, but not really gaining too much time. But at the same time, he's not really losing that much to Liam Lawson and Marino Sato behind him either, so he's getting into a little bit of no man's land here. He's not gaining so much on the cars in front, but he's not really falling behind into the clutches of the likes of Lawson, Tsunoda and Sato behind him either.
Yeah, he's got to be careful because running in the wheel tracks of another car does take more out of your tyres. Tepin Notori's just set the fastest sector, as we're seeing Cameron Dass and Callum Williams battling. They were teammates earlier this year at Fortec Motorsports for Cameron switched to Motorpark, and that was for 13th place after Cameron Dass had set the fastest speed track figure. We're on board with Yuki Tsunoda right now. He's currently in 7th place and is chasing his Red Bull stablemate and Motorpark teammate Liam Lawson is 6th. Very aggressive over the curbs there at turn 14 as they come through the final corner to complete the 4th lap of the race. Tepin Notori, another fastest lap, 3.3 seconds up the road now. That's bigger than any gap we saw yesterday, but doesn't necessarily mean that it's not a gap that can be made smaller.
So while Tepin Notori starts to escape up the road then, 3.3 seconds, she said, to the good. It's looking interesting, bit of a stalemate between the remaining 3 Carlin cars in the front of the field. It's now 0.8 of a second between Kiergaard and Munger, a second between Munger and Hahn, then 0.8 of a second between Hahn and new champion Sato. Lawson, Sonoda, Lundqvist, Dunner and Doohan the remainder of the top 10. Nicholas Crutten in 11th place. Ida Cohen's in 12th at the moment, so maybe struggling a bit in these warmer conditions compared to the cooler, wet conditions yesterday, because he finished about 7th position yesterday, so a bit off the pace in these hot conditions today, but still running well in his first run in Carlin.
And Marino Sato's just set the fastest first sector of the race so far, closed in at a 10th on Christian Hahn in front of him, who's also set his personal best. We're currently following Linus Lundqvist's car, but we might see Sato at the front of the frame as we switch to our leader, Tepe Notori, who's got 3.3 seconds. He was 0.7 seconds faster than Nikolai Kjærgaard on that last lap. A massive gap this early in the race.
One thing we should point out is Tepe Notori so far this season, his best result has been 6th 4 times. So he hasn't actually won a race so far this season. I'm not sure, has he won a Euroformula Open race full stop? Shaking the head for a minute, Wood, so no, he hasn't. So this kind of pace, we could see him take his first ever victory then in Euroformula Open.
But this is the exact kind of pace we saw in pre-season testing, and that's why many people got excited about his presence in Euroformula.
So, and he was also a driver that missed out on the last couple of rounds at Red Bull Ring and Silverstone as well, so he's making a welcome return back to the championship. There are the pit boards held out for the Carlin Motorsport squad. Gap is now visibly a second between Kjærgaard and Munger, as you can see on the left-hand side. Lap 6 of this second race here at Barcelona, Euroformula Open. Here's a replay of Rui Andrade diving up the inside of Caleb Williams, going way too deep into the Kaisha hairpin. And Caleb Williams says, well, that was easy.
And Marino Sato's backed off again in the final sector. He was close to overtaking Christian Hahn and then lost another 3 tenths in the final sector. Didn't see it on screen whether he'd deliberately lifted off or something happened between the two.
Unless he's pushing and then finding himself making mistakes, trying to push too hard to catch after the guys in front. Because Christian Hahn, the gap is now 1.1 seconds, and that hasn't really come down so much. So either Christian Hahn's just got the pace to maintain it, or based on the sector time, Sato's trying to push, but finding himself making too many mistakes in clear air.
Well, Sato's consistently been one of the fastest drivers in the first sector of the lap. And it's in the second and the third, and the second is very short. It's only about 2 corners, but he keeps losing time to Christian Hahn there.
We'll keep an eye on his progress on the sector times at the moment. Tepe Notori pulling out another couple of tenths in that sector. Kjærgaard was 2 tenths quicker than Munger on that lap. Hahn matched him, and Marino Sato's on a personal best for his sector. But now he's got the 2 Red Bull juniors lining up behind him. Liam Lawson, Yuki Tsunoda. Also, Linus Lundqvist is in there in 8th position. 0.7 seconds back. Dunner and Doohan round out the top 10. Then it's Crutten, Das, Cohen, Williams and Andrade rounding out the runners. All 15 cars started, all 15 still running. End of lap 6. And the Tories gap now was 4 seconds at the last split. What's it now at the end of the lap? It's now 4.4. He's pulled out effectively another almost half a second on that sector alone. So the gap is out to almost 4.5 seconds as he makes his way into turn 1. And he'll be hopefully on his way to his first ever Euroformula Open victory. There's Kjærgaard in 2nd place. And all he can really do is keep on pushing to try and keep Billy Munger behind. But Billy will certainly be relishing the chance to pick up 3rd place in this race. Still Christian Hahn in 4th. Marino Sato holding station in 5th place, but he's now only got a 0.6 second advantage over Liam Lawson, with Yuki Tsunoda, his fellow Japanese driver, just behind him there in 7th, and Linus Lundqvist also lining up in 8th. So Sato trying to push, but it seems as though A, the Carlin cars have the advantage, and B, doesn't have the outright pace to possibly hold too much more of an advantage over the 2 Red Bull cars behind, or Lundqvist for that matter either.
As we discussed earlier, tyre life is massively important here because of the high temperatures. So the pace in the first half of the race may not be representative of the finishing order in the second half, especially the drivers who push too hard early on.
That's a good point. As you say, temperatures now, as we keep saying, they're into the low 40s, so it's a much hotter track than we had yesterday. So drivers are trying to cope with that, and of course they'll set the cars up differently to cope with the different conditions, where they'll set everything up a little bit softer for the wet conditions, whereas in the warmer conditions, they'll be doing what they can, particularly with the tyre pressures, and to tweak those to kind of make sure that kind of copes them a little bit better as much as they can. But there's only so much they can do to cope with hot conditions, because of course, one thing they can't really change is the weather. All they can do is work the equipment they've got and work the cars the best they can without it possibly overheating or causing performance issues.
Yeah, this will be a massive result for Carlin, with all 4 of its cars in the top 4. On board with the most part car, Yuki Tsunoda again going through the final corner. And you can see the power of the toe in these Formula 3 cars, how much he's closing in on teammate Liam Lawson down the straight. As we switch to Timo Rumpkal, who's not smiling, is a very serious bloke.
He's keeping concentrated face as he watches his 2 Red Bull juniors battle away for 6th and 7th position. Lawson has the advantage over Tsunoda as they come up through turns 2 and 3. Lead gap is now up to 5.2 seconds now, so he's pulled out another roughly couple of seconds. But in that first sector, it's come back down to 5 seconds pretty much exactly. So in that first sector, Kiergaard and Munger were a little bit quicker, and behind Christian Hahn, actually, it's now Sato and Lawson who are also getting pretty quicker. So in this first sector so far, the quickest men are the guys in 5th and 6th who have a little bit more clean air in many cases. So I think what you were saying earlier on about maybe keeping it calm a little bit in the first half of the race is starting to come maybe already a little bit true, because those who have taken the life out of their tyres initially are starting to maybe pay the price in these next couple of laps.
And Motor Park's way of setting up the car is it's very much on the edge. So when you lose that tyre life, it puts it even more on the edge, which is a kind of risk you don't want to take. So I imagine they're being as conservative as possible in the first half of this race. Looking back at Carlin, this would be Billy Munger's first podium overall podium since his Pau Grand Prix win, because he finished 4th twice at Silverstone, 5th yesterday, and I believe he was on for 4th in the Red Bull Ring in the summer until he clashed with teammate Christian Hahn on the last lap.
He picked up 2 rookie podiums at Silvers as well, to the delight of all the fans and supporters he had there, of course, as well as the local crowd in the UK. So Billy Munger certainly looking to try and get a strong result here in 3rd place overall. He'll also put him 3rd in the rookie podium again, because once again it is 3 rookie drivers in the rookie class that are at the top of the field. Tepin Notori from Nikolai Kiergaard from Billy Munger, that's the top 3. And the gap is now out to over 5 seconds now. New personal best from Nikolai Kiergaard, 1:38.9. Still 2/10 off the pace from Tepin Notori at this point. Munger now is only 1.1 seconds back to Kiergaard, 1.7 ahead of Christian Hahn. Sato's a further 1.3 seconds back, but so far it seems as though he just cannot, if he is conserving tyres in the first half of the race, can't seem to shake off Lawson or Sonoda, but at the same time, they can't really get closer to him either.
Yeah, well, they will all be quite similarly set up, because they're all part of the Motor Park team. So I imagine they're all going for very similar kind of race strategies at this point. And also the fact that they're not kind of fighting desperately for position at the moment, so they're not wasting tyre life anyway. So they're kind of ticking all the boxes in whatever their pre-race plan is, I would expect.
Whatever their plan is, as you say, it does seem to be sort of, at the moment, working to play in terms of not causing too much drama or using the tyres too much. That's Lucas Dunner back in 9th place.
Whose weekend hasn't quite gone to plan.
Hasn't really. He's effectively now ruled out of being the champion, and that's now gone to this man, Marino Sato. He is still in the running for 2nd place, though, but he's got lots of competitive drivers, particularly this weekend and also at Monza, which might possibly, if results go against him, put that at risk going to the final rounds. But we'll wait and see how that plays out for the rest of this race and the weekend in Monza in a few weeks' time. Notori's gap now over 5.5 seconds, 5.6 to be exact, but Sato now doing everything he can to look after his tyres, but at the same time try to keep his teammates behind as Liam Lawson continues to harry the new champion. Yuki Tsunoda also keeping on the tail of his 2 Motor Park teammates. There's Lars Lundqvist. He's now 1.1 seconds back to Yuki Tsunoda. We're now on lap 10, so we've got 9 or 8 roughly laps to go until we come to the end of the race. Kiergaard now almost 6 seconds back now, and trying his best to hold on. Munger's gap is 1.1. He's going to keep an eye on the sectors now. Munger was quicker in the first sector, off by 2/10 in the middle sector last time by, and he matched Kiergaard in the final sector. So it seems to be at the moment that in sector 1, he seems to be able to match him in the first and middle and final sectors, but the middle sector, which is a little bit quicker, seems to be where he's possibly losing the most amount of time in the high-speed corners.
Yeah, well, the first sector is mostly consisted of the pit straight, so if he can get that toe from Nikolai Kiergaard, which Kiergaard doesn't have the benefit of getting from Tepin Notori, he probably makes a 10th or two there. Tepin Notori still setting 1:38 lap by lap. I don't think any other driver has actually got broken into that 1:38 barrier yet. A lot of them have been lapping in the low 1:39s, but I don't think there's been anyone better.
I think the only person other than that, looking at the fastest lap times for each driver, is actually Nikolai Kiergaard. He did do a 38.9, but he's not really been in that ever since. So, in fact, you're absolutely right. Tepin Notori's fastest lap is at least, half a second clear of everyone else. So he clearly has the advantage in these hot conditions as he comes up through the chicane and into the final couple of the corners to end another lap. Let's see if he can keep in the 38. It's nice consistent pace from the Honda Junior. He's backed by the Honda Formula Dream concept, as is also Yuki Tsunoda. Across the line he goes, does a 39.0. He's dipped his pace a tiny bit, but at the very least he's matching the guys behind him. It's a 38.8 now for Nikolai Kiergaard, a personal best. The gap has come down to 5.6 seconds, but the gap he's built up already, Tepin Notori. He really needs the tyres to really drop off and hit the cliff in these last sort of 7 or 8 laps to really have Kiergaard stand any chance of catching him. Otherwise, the gap he's built, he just needs to try and maintain it, and touch wood, he will pretty much be able to get home trouble-free.
Yeah, and I think he'd still be guaranteed a rookie podium, even if he became the last of the, the fourth of the Carlin drivers at the moment, because Christian Hahn isn't one of the rookie classified drivers, and neither is our champion, Marino Sato, who is still only 2 seconds behind Hahn, so he hasn't been able to match the Brazilian's pace, as we're definitely into the second half of this race by now.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got 7 laps to go, including the one we're on. And looking back at lap times whilst that's happened, Tepin Notori's gap came down by another 10th or so from Kiergaard. It's now 5.5 seconds. Interestingly, just behind him, though, Billy Munger has lost time to Kiergaard. It's 1.5 seconds back, and Christian Hahn was quicker on that lap by a 10th, which means he's pulled the gap into 1.4.
And Kiergaard, it's at 1 minute 38.85, which is his best lap of the race.
Yeah, so he's brought that gap down by another couple of tenths. Through the middle sector, Kiergaard's quicker again by another 2 tenths. Likewise, Hahn on Munger. So it looks as though it's interesting, bit of I think Trevor Carr might be getting a bit nervous about this for these 4 cars coming together.
Yeah, Hahn and Munger have had previous this season. It's a train of top 4. It's a train of Carlin cars in top 4. Then it's a train of motorpark cars.
As he holds on to that position in P5 as they head down the pit straight once again. There is the visible gap between Munger and Hahn down towards turn 1 again. So lap time wise, let's have a quick confirmation of where we are then. There's the gap between Lawson and Sonoda, 0.5 of a second, as Lawson continues to chase down Marino Sato. As Elliot said, the train of motorpark cars makes its way through turn 3. Nice, Lundqvist dropping back a little bit. The gap is 1.3 seconds behind Sonoda as they come back into turn 3. Looking at the front runners in the Carlin quartet, 5.5 seconds still. Effectively, it's 28.9s for all of the top 3, 28.8 for Christian Hahn. So he's the fastest of the 4 Carlin cars in the first sector. And the spread between the 4 Carlin cars is 8.3 seconds. They come up through sector 2. But again, it's pretty much at the moment, whilst they're starting to close up a little bit between the 4 Carlin cars, a bit of a stalemate so far between the 3 motorpark machines. As we see 3 of them all in one shot briefly. There's Nikolai Kiergaard holding on to second place, trying to pull away from Munger. And Munger's still looking at his mirrors because he'll find the Brazilian Christian Hahn closing up in a few moments' time. But Munger doing well to hold on to third place. And as Elliot said, if he can hold on, it'll be his first outright podium since he took his superb victory back on the streets of Po several months ago. Here's on board with Yuki Tsunoda. Here's his view, staring at the rear end of his fellow Red Bull Junior and Motorpark teammate Liam Lawson, winner of yesterday's first race. Closing back up under braking, just neatly glancing the curbs to the chicane, using all the runoff on the exit, and then just flat out through New Holland onto the pit straight. And that's just how much more of a tow he can get down this run towards turn 1. Lap time now, gap's gone back up to almost 5.7 seconds between Notori and Kiergaard. Munger now is 1.8 seconds behind Kiergaard in 3rd position. And Christian Hahn has set personal best first and second sectors on that lap to close the gap by another 2 tenths on the Brit. So it looks as though I think possibly there could be a potential imminent change for 3rd position if Hahn keeps up this pace, Elliot.
Yeah, Christian Hahn does look very quick. He's normally kind of slower in the second half of races, but he's just set the fastest first sector of this race. And that was something the motorpark drivers were mostly holding. In fact, Liam Lawson's matched that time. So potentially all the cars are getting quicker, even though the tyres are getting hotter.
I think it might be the fact we've had quite a few races today. Of course, more rubbers going down the circuit, so that plus the heat might be making the track a little bit stickier. So therefore, the track might be getting quicker and quicker with more rubber going down as the race goes on.
And the cars will be getting lighter with less fuel as well.
Yes, correct, absolutely. So lighter car, grippier circuit means lap times could start to tumble even in these warm conditions, with the track temperature in the low 40s. I think it's the hottest it's been all weekend, I think, but even so, trying to make the most of it. Gap has gone back out to, what is it now? It was 1 second at the previous sector. It's now 1.2 at the one they've just gone through. So Billy Munger was 2 tenths quicker. Interestingly, Munger and Kiergaard were 2 tenths quicker than Notori on that lap, but I have to admit, unless there's a really severe drop-off of pace from Tepin Notori, I can't see Kiergaard and Munger catching him, and Christian Hahn, if he keeps up his pursuit, is certainly going to be there too. But I think in terms of any kind of a team's championship, I think Carlin, their chances of that are going to be not harmed at all by getting a massive haul of points towards that. First, second, third and fourth. Marino Sato just staying hold of his fifth position. He's not really pulled away again too much from Lawson and Sonoda. And Lawson just closing a bit closer now. He's within half a second on Sato, and the gap between Sato and Hahn is actually 3.3 seconds. So Sato just taking it steady here ahead of his 2 teammates. No wonder possibly at the rate that Lawson started to close in, he might start to shape up the new champion for an attack very soon, with only about roughly 4 laps to go, including the one we're on. So into Repsol corner goes Sato. Still Lawson and Sonoda closing him down, but Lawson's managed to pull a couple of tenths over his Japanese teammate, one of his Japanese teammates, chasing the other in front of him. There is Yuki Tsunoda, holding station in 7th position. Just for the record, out the rest of the top 10, Linus Lundqvist takes 8th at the moment, Lucas Dunn 9th, and Jack Doohan in the bottom of the top 10. Then it's Crutten, Das, Cohen, Williams and Andrade rounding out the 15 runners that all started the race and all still running at the moment. Out of Campster Corner, down towards Lakaisha hairpin. And just keeping also one eye on the gaps at the front in the leading 4. Still 5.2 seconds now between Nattori and Kiergaard. 1.7 back further for Munger, 1.5 second further back in 4th for Christian Hahn. Then they're now about 3.4 seconds ahead. Here is Tepin Nattori. Haven't really seen too much of him as he's been out in the lead on his own. Across the line he goes to start lap 15. 3 laps to go. Still Carlin Cars 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th in this race. And Tepin Nattori at the moment showing some great pace. This is his best performance of the season so far. And he's only, at this point, 3 laps away from potentially picking up his first win of the season, but it's never over until he gets the checkered flag. Anything can happen. Gap is 5.2 seconds still. Munger is still 1.6 seconds back on Kiergaard. So at the moment, really, with about 3 laps to go, logic would dictate that all Nattori has to do is simply just keep his pace nice and steady and maintain the gap to Kiergaard behind. But with the pace that Kiergaard's trying to push here to try and at least close that gap and put some pressure on, that's relatively easier said than done in many cases. So Nattori looking strong, but Kiergaard certainly not giving up his pursuit, Elliot. It's now just over 5 seconds. He's bringing the gap down bit by bit, but as we said, not enough really to trouble Nattori. He's only got 2.5 laps to go now to get this job done.
Yeah, I doubt he could close in that much of a gap with the time available. One thing that he can do is cause punctures, but the track looks relatively clean, so I don't imagine that's going to happen either. I think Tepin Nattori has got this victory under wraps, and a very deserving victory it would be too, and his first in Europe, because he's been racing in Japan prior to that in Formula 4, and this is his first season in Formula 3.
It's good to see a lot of talented Japanese drivers coming over to Europe. Of course, we've got 3 in this race and in this championship. Tepin Nattori, Marino Sato, new champion. Yuki Tsunoda. Also, of course, the young talent David Silva, Toshiki Oyo as well, had a double victory there in his first time in Europe. So it's great to see that the current culture of single-seater racing with Japanese Formula 3, Formula 4 and also Super 4 and stuff, it's bringing through a great new generation of Japanese drivers that really are taking the fight to the European drivers once they come over to the continent. And they're really showing their stuff to some drivers that, if they hadn't come over, probably not many people would have recognised if they're trying to make ambitions towards the higher ranks of single-seater racing and eventually, I'm presuming, up to Formula 1.
Yeah, and likewise with Euroformula, we've got drivers here who go off to race in Japan in Super Formula and Super Formula Lights, which uses the same car as Euroformula and kind of has the same ethos as well, with this lightweight chassis and very manoeuvrable, and one that's very popular with drivers as well.
We're talking about chassis. We've got the brand new Dallara F320 in the paddock as well, the new car they're going to run for next year. I know that Dan Ticktum, who's been racing this weekend in the Formula Regional European Championships, was the first man to test it out on circuit. I think at Valencia, if I'm correct, he was testing it over there.
Somewhere in Italy.
Somewhere in Italy, I think it was, actually. I stand corrected. But either way, that car will take over from the F317 chassis you see here. It still maintains the big sort of front end end plates on the front wing as it does here. This car was, whoa, big tail slide over the bump there for Yuki Tsunoda. Very wide on the
he hit the brakes as well there. You could see the rubber being laid down as he slid.
I think he was trying to negate a slide as much as possible, so he's trying to hit the brakes a bit of an emergency and lost a bit of time. Hasn't lost too much actually on the exit. As now Liam Lawson starting to get maybe not impatient, but starting to put a little bit more pressure on Sato as we come towards the start of the last lap of the race. The gap is still 5.2 seconds. So again, Nattori's doing everything he needs to, just maintaining that gap. And maybe Kiergaard's thinking, well, I'm that far away. Maybe second place is enough for me just to maintain and pick up another podium. So it'll be 4 podiums in a row for Kiergaard, having picked up 2/3 at Silverstone. It will be if he makes it to the flag in that order. 2 second places from this weekend. Final lap is in order now. Tepin Nattori's gone through. 5.5 seconds is the gap. He was 3/10 quicker than Kiergaard on the last lap. Is there going to be a change between the Motor Park teammates on the last lap here between Marino Sato and Liam Lawson? Lawson looking pretty close. Can he bag himself a top 5 spot, or will he have to settle for 6th? This man, meanwhile, has put on an exceptional performance, by far his best drive of the season so far. He's been 6th a number of times this season. That's been his best result. And like other drivers like Tsunoda and like Lawson and like Sato, he's missed the last couple of rounds at Red Bull Ring and Silverstone. But he's back in action here in Barcelona. And ever since he stuck it on pole this morning, and even in the pre-season testing form, shown that he's been quick around this circuit and making the most of that pace. Out of Campsa corner, down the back straight towards the Lakaisha hairpin for the final time. And Kiergaard and Munger look at the moment pretty safe in second and third place. And I think if Trevor Carlin's watching on, he can look on with quite a large smile on his face, because with all four of his 5 cars in the first 4 positions, Ida Cohen, for the record, is back in 13th place. But this will be, at the very least, a big haul of points for Carlin. But a very momentous day for another great Japanese talent, as into the complex of the final time into the chicane. His countryman Marino Sato may have took the title, but it's all about this man today, out of the final corner with a lights to flag victory. Welcome to the big time, Tepi Nattori, his first Euroformula Open victory. He wins race 2 here in Barcelona to the delight of the Carlin team, and they've got more races to be happy as across the line. Second place comes Kiergaard, third is Billy Munger, fourth is Christian Hahn. It's a Carlin 1, 2, 3, 4, followed by a Motorpark 5, 6, 7, new champion Sato 5th, but it's Lawson 6th, Zanoda 7th, Linus Lundqvist comes through in 8th, Lucas Dada 9th, and 10th place for Jack Dooham. 11th place for Nicholas Crutten, 12th for Cameron Dast, and it's Ida Cohen, Caden Williams, and Rui Andrade. Every reason to celebrate for Carlin tonight. What's been a pretty decent weekend for them all round, but I think that's certainly something for them to enjoy on the trip back home to their base in the UK, as everyone picks up rubber to make sure they are over the minimum weight. Tepi Nattori will be delighted at that. That's exactly how you take your first win. Lights the flag from pole position. So that will give him a lot of confidence heading to the final rounds at Monza in a few weeks' time. Of course, where straight line speed, slipstreaming and slim wings is going to be the order of the day all the way through the weekend from start to finish. So Nikolai Kiergaard now with his 4th podium in a row now, after 2/3 at Silverstone, 2 second places now here in Barcelona. Billy Munger gets back onto the podium for the first time since his Pau victory. Christian Hahn also picks up a strong top 5 finish. And Marino Sato also reaches the top 5 in his first race after clinching the title. There's confirmation, your race 2 winner, Tepi Nattori. And another of these fantastic young Japanese talents coming through onto the continental Europe, applying their craft against some of the regular European drivers, and certainly making a name for themselves and making a statement that Japanese motorsport is certainly making waves within the last couple of seasons. So it's been quite a long season, 16 races run so far, just 2 more to go at the Cathedral of Speed in Italy. And with the title wrapped up, the battle for second place is still on. And so whoever can claim the vice-champion status remains to be seen. But Tepi Nattori taking a steady run back to the pits, just trying to pick up as much of the rubber that goes, and the marbles that go off onto the circuit off the racing line, which get sort of torn off as the cars go around, to make sure the car meets the minimum weight limit as a precaution, to see another team locking out. So here is confirmation of the result. A Carlin Motorsport 1, 2, 3, 4. Tepi Nattori with his first Euroformula victory of his career. Nikolai Kiergaard with his second place of the weekend. Billy Munger back on the podium in 3rd. Christian Hahn picks up 4th. Marino Sato, the new champion, in 5th. Liam Lawson 6th. Yuki Tsunoda 7th. Linus Lundqvist 8th. And Dunner and Dooham round out the top 10. Nicholas Crutten 11th. From Cameron Dast 12th. Ida Cohen 13th. Caleb Williams 14th. And Rui Andrade rounding out the 15 cars. All 15 cars started. All 15 finished. Good to see every single driver made it home from the start. And you can see how much that means to Tepi Nattori. Up on top of the car. The celebrations can begin. That'll be straight over to his Carlin team, where he'll give plenty of hugs and high fives. And Nikolai Kiergaard may possibly feel he could have potentially gone for a win, but ultimately the pace wasn't there to keep up with his Japanese teammate. But shouldn't be too disheartened. 2 second place is still very strong. Certainly found some pace in the second half of the season since Silverstone. And Billy Munger, of course, will be delighted with 3rd place. And again, all 3 drivers on the podium. And Christian Hahn, of course, remember, makes it 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th. And so it means that Marino Sato again can go to Monza in a relaxed manner to be able to effectively round off the year, hopefully with a victory. That's what he'll be aiming for. But others such as Kiergaard, Nattori, Munger and Hahn will be trying to get in. So here's confirmation of the top three then. Third place, a strong run for a fourth on the grid for Billy Munger. Picks up another podium. He'll be pleased with that for him and the Carlin team. What was a Carlin podium lockout. Second place, the second time for this weekend, is the Dane Nikolai Kiergaard. Might be disappointed without a win, but still solid points towards his championship run, also the Rookie Cup. But welcome to the winner's circle for the first time in his career. Teppei Nattori of Japan for Carlin Motorsport. He's down with Alfredo in the pit lane to explain how he did that in his fantastic victory. Down to the pit lane and Alfredo.
Decide la música.
Teppei Nattori, you made it. Sorry. The watch. Time is precious. So, well done after pole position.
Yeah.
You managed to achieve first P1 in the race. How was it?
Yeah, this race is very perfect. Perfect tire management. At the start, it's very perfect. And tire, very good time gap. Very perfect. And qualifying is very perfect. This weekend, most perfect today. But yesterday, many frustration. I had many frustration because I really perfect and happy today.
Well done. Podium now and enjoy the moment.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Vamos!
So let's take a look at the highlights of race 2. It was a clean start away from pole sitter Teppei Nattori as the four Carlin cars at the front of the field locked out the front of the grid. There was early battles between Yuki Tsunoda and Lucas Dunner down towards turn 1. There's plenty of skirmish into the first corner. Side-by-side action between Hahn and Munger. Almost saw them come into contact, but Hahn backed out at the last minute and stayed in fourth as Cameron Dass ran wide on the exit and lost a few positions in the process. Also skirmishes with Dunner and Yuki Tsunoda into turn 3. That continued from the pit straight. And then later on in the race, we saw Cameron Dass and Caleb Williams going side-by-side further in the field as they battled over positions at the bottom of the field, down in the lower positions. An attempted pass of Rui Andrade didn't come off as he attempted to also get past Caleb Williams, but ran wide on the exit. And the Australian got through. And it was all about the Carlin cars at the front of the field. William Munger was able to hold off the attack from Christian Hahn, but he couldn't get close to Nikolai Kiergaard, who ran out in second place in something of a clear gap at the front of the field. But nobody at the front of the pit field could catch this man, Teppei Nattori, who went on from pole position to claim a lights-to-flag run. And as he headed into the final couple of the corners, he went on to take his first ever victory in Euroformula Open. And not only that, it was an all-Carlin lockout on the podium, with Carlin cars finishing in the first 4 positions. It was a euphoric victory for another Japanese talent. Teppei Nattori once again marking his name in the big time. Victory for the young Japanese star, second for Kiergaard, third for Munger, and fourth for Hahn. A good day's work all round for Carlin Motorsport. So now we're just waiting in the podium room. We've got there both on the left, just sat down behind one of his team members there, Teppei Nattori, and just conversing with Nikolai Kiergaard. We are just waiting for Billy Munger, as of course he does need a bit of assistance getting in and out of the car, of course, and up onto the podium. So he's just getting changed so he can make his way up. And good little bit of conversation going on between teammates. Nice healthy competition between them. And here once again is Teppei Nattori taking to the checkered flag. And to the delight of his team, across the line, and here's evident euphoria as well. And a round of applause all round from the Carlin squad after a job well done for their drivers this afternoon. And quite frankly, they were the team to beat this weekend, particularly this afternoon in the hot conditions. And that celebration will certainly go all the way back to the UK when they head back to their base later on this week. Of course, Carlin base just near Recklesham in the UK, and they'll be hoping to have more good fortunes heading off. So we will go ahead and do our top 3 podium very shortly once Billy Munger has been able to make his way up. And of course, what this will mean is, of course, now it'll be open season for exactly who can come out on top in the final 2 races of the season at Autodromo Nazionale Monza in Italy in a few weeks' time. So be sure to tune in for that on October, I think 13th and 14th, if I'm correct. On what's been a very intense season all the way through. And driver's just cooling off after a very hot race. Temperature-wise, it's still, looking at the temperature out there on my weather app, it's still showing 28 degrees, so it's very, very hot out there. It's the maximum temperature for this weekend. And the track temperature, I'm sure, is going to keep on going up and up and up, because you've still got one more race to go this weekend. So here's once again confirmation of the top three. There is Billy Munger in third place for Carlin Motorsport, taking another strong podium, another great performance. Second place for Nikolai Kiergaard, his second place of the weekend for the young Dane's fourth podium in a row now after his double podium at Silverstone 2. And here is your race winner. First time for Honda Junior, Tepin Notori. Great race from start to finish. Lights the flag from pole and was never headed and won by 5.5 seconds in the end. So as Carlin supply, I'm guessing, their own version of the circuit celebration music. I think we're just about ready to get the podium underway. I can see the podium announcer on top of the rostrum. There is Billy. Quick change for him. And we're getting ready to call them out onto the rostrum. First of all, up onto the podium comes Billy Munger in third place. This will be popular back home in the UK. Third place for Billy as he jumps up onto the third step of the podium. Also, of course, third in the Rookie Cup as well. Third overall. It is rookie drivers on the top three overall. Second place for Nikolai Kiergaard of Denmark. Strong form for Nikolai. And his first ever victory, as we said, in Euroformula Open. To the delight of his team, and I'm sure his home nation, Japan. Tepin Notori heads to the top step of the podium. Handshakes all round for Carlin. And of course, the representative of the winning team, Carlin. He'll pick up the victory podium. And in honour of the winner, the national anthem of the winning driver of Japan. So the national anthem of Japan rings out for our race winner. And the trophy is shortly to be handed out before we wrap up our coverage of Euroformula Open here this weekend. So first of all, the trophy going to third place to Billy Munger. And that'll be a good podium for him, presented by Clotilde Rion, the technical advisor of Michelin. And that's presented to Billy Munger. Nice bit of silverware for him to take back home. Second place trophy goes to Nikolai Kiergaard, presented by Joan Fonser, the circuit director of the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya. And the winner's trophy is to be handed out to Tepin Notori by Manuel Avina, president of the RFE DA, and up aloft on the top step of the podium. And also the same man will present the trophy to the winning team, Carlin Motorsport. So smiles all around for Carlin. That'll be, I'm sure, a very enjoyable flight back or trip back on the road as everyone goes to the top step of the podium. And as they celebrate, now the question is, how will the season end in Monza? It's been a cracking weekend. Victories for Liam Lawson and first time for Tepin Notori, and a title settled for Rino Sato. What will the finale in Monza hold? Join us in 3 weeks' time. But from all of us here at Barcelona, from myself, Scott Woodward, and Elliot Wood, thanks for watching, and join us for the season's finale of what's been an incredible Euroformula Open season. But for now, enjoy the champagne, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.